Hey, so a question I get asked a lot is how do you actually structure your product? What's the best way to structure it? And what's all this about having story? What is the importance of story? So you have to decide really about the scope of your product. In other words, you don't want to chunk it up too much so it's too hairy fairy, and you don't want to chunk it down too little so that it becomes too detailed, or else you're going to lose your potential prospects and customers and clients. Your story should really be about how you discovered the way you got your result, your epiphany story. How is it that you managed to go from something that was a total block that didn't work out to finding a solution for it, and how did you get that result? That's what the story is really about. So, bam! As usual, it's John Harris, and this is Info Products coming to you live from London. I just want to go over, first of all, some of the structure, and we're going to talk about the 7 steps of creating that structure. So a lot of this detail, we've been through parts of this before in different aspects from the marketing and so forth. Just remember where we are right now. We've spoken about the product itself. We talked about reach and marketing and the offer and the delegation. And we are now in the monetization. We are now basically looking at the creation of the product. Okay. So first one is to get clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. You have a clear vision of what it is that you want to teach people and how you're going to go about that. Narrow that scope so, as I've mentioned, that you're in the sweet spot where it's not too much detail but not too blasé, in that sweet spot. Brainstorm ideas. You're going to get as many ideas together as you can. Get a whole lot of ideas. Then what you're going to do is you're going to organize those ideas into chunks, to various chunks, to things that go together. And then what you want to do is create an outline. So now you're going to start to say this will be step 1, step 2, step 3, or module 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the way you want to do, however you want to do it. I wouldn't advise going over more than 7, maybe 8, but it's pushing it because it becomes very big. It starts to take too long for people to achieve a result. The whole thing is can they achieve a result, and is that result going to move the needle for them? The next thing we want to do is enhance that content. So you want to have various ways that you can make it sticky, that people will remember what it is that you're talking to them and teaching them about. Then you want to have a briefing session on the assets that are going to go with it. And remember, when you put a product out there, you might have a small pre-sale, your core product, and a high-end. And in between, you're going to need a whole lot of bonuses, and you may need up to 15 bonuses. So you're going to be looking at different assets, whether it's going to be mind maps, resource cheat sheets, whether it's going to be certain graphics, whether it's going to be stories, whether it's going to be workbooks. There's a tremendous amount of things that you can add value bonuses to enhance that teaching that you are doing. Next, we want to go over is the ideas of brainstorming your content. So how do you go about brainstorming your content? So take, for example, you go with somebody who's just started out, who's doing that, and you can go over it with a newbie. So while teaching them and how they can do it, you'll learn more yourself. You want to constantly be taking in information, learning new stuff, consistently learning new things, and looking at people that are further down the road than you and learning from them, mentors and other people who are experts. Keeping a journal. I always keep a journal. You want to be writing down as much stuff as possible that you can pull off when you need it as information, and you can reuse it again. And ask your audience. A great way is to simply ask people what they want within that area of interest. Surveys and so forth to your Facebook friends, groups, and various people. And you can do a survey out there and find out what they think would be interesting for them. Remember, not from your perspective, because we all know what we think is important often has nothing to do with what people are thinking about. You can conduct research. We've been over a lot of these things already, okay? So you know that we speak about Google and similarweb.com. There's all sorts of places you can go to. Alexa, there's different places you can go and research and see what's in demand, see what people are looking at. You can go to we've talked ClickBank, many of these things we've already spoken about. So you can go and research stuff and see what people are interested in. Next, you want to do is change your environment. You see, I'm here in London right now. Other times I'm in the bush, I'm all over the place. Different environments help you get more creative, and it helps you for your brainstorming. So it's very important to change that environment. 8 ways to organize your content. So that content we want to structure in a different way, different ways we can organize it. So you want to have a sequence or steps, as we mentioned. Categories, list different categories in lists. Principles, rules, laws, and habits. These are also important types of categories that you can put together. Common mistakes is another great one. These are some of the common mistakes people make. Problem solution. This is the problem. This is the solution. A storyline, and further on from the storyline is a series of stories that will build out to open a loop and to close a loop. And a Q&A segments where you can do your frequently asked questions, and then you should ask questions. Those are very powerful because you're then giving answers, especially the should ask questions, because a lot of times people have certain questions, but the other things they don't think about. And if you come up with what they should also ask and know about, it deepens the knowledge that you're passing on. Creating your outline. So the next step, what you want to do is you want to look at the hook we've spoken about, but we'll address it again. Your product, why is it important? Why would people need this? You need to frame it that they understand what problem, what pain point you're going to be solving. What is it? So what is the actual product? And how do you take action? How do you do it? How do you assimilate that information? So, and how do you learn, and how do you implement it? And you'll have a recap on that, and you'll obviously, if you can possibly have, if not stories, you'll have case studies and proof, social proof, and so forth. And then, of course, a call to action. So let's just look at 7 types of hooks. These hooks that we've spoken about are very important, and you can think of them from an aspect or perspective of a newspaper heading, a popular magazine heading, built to get attention. And these talking points, they're specifically done, and like it says, it's a hook, just like a fish hook, and you're just going to put different types of baits to catch specific types of fish. So you're going to look at the specific niche that you're after, and you're going to try to actually get a hook that aligns itself with that pain point in the form of a statement. You're going to have questions. You can start a startling fact, something that people don't know, but it must be a fact, an axiom. So something that's a startling fact. A soundbite. A personal story, very powerful. Humor, okay, but try not to be humorous if you're not funny. A literary quote, well-known quote, and a survey. So these are different ways that you can put out and get people's engagement up front to get their attention. A lot of sites now, you'll see, will have up front, as you pop onto them, an opportunity to fill out a survey. And that gets you involved, and then it starts to take you on that journey. So enhancing some of this content that we've spoken about, I said earlier that you need to enhance that content. And some of the aspects you want to talk about are stories and metaphors, statistics, quotes. You're going to have graphics, your different types of images, examples, and actions, exercises and actions. Specifically, writing is kinetic energy, and that's always good to do as an extra input. Let's talk a bit about story now. So, story, we are hardwired to listen to stories. It's just part of our evolutionary process. As human beings, we've passed on a lot of our history through stories, and it's hardwired in us. I've been myself at a restaurant sitting there quietly having a coffee, and somebody started talking about some story with certain characters and things, and as much as you don't want to listen, you do listen. You can't help it, and that's the power of stories. Stories convey a universal theme of humankind. Stories mirror human thoughts. Stories create our identity, and that is how people get to know, like, and trust you. The vulnerability, some of the things that have happened to you. When we structure a story, a lot of people will say, if I say, okay, tell me your story for the first time, people that know how to do this, it's obviously second hand and second nature to them. But a lot of people start at something that they achieve, some great point, moment in their life. No, that's not where you want to start. You want to start where you had maybe an idea of doing something and then you hit a wall. You had some kind of catastrophe. It did not work out. But you continued and you found a way around that wall, over that wall, through that wall, under that wall. You got past it, you got around it, you solved that problem. And it's that solution, the result that you got, that people want to know is how you did that. I think it's about stories that create a sense of identity and community. So the criteria for an outstanding story use like the Titanic principle, which is a lot of people on the Titanic, but you're trying to bring it down to one person or a couple of characters. They do it with a lot of marketing, where they bring it down to a single person, D-Day, all these different films, they bring it down to a specific character. And that resonates better than trying to represent a whole large number of people. The next thing you want to do is get personal. As I say, people want to understand your vulnerabilities, the mistakes you made, and understand that you've also gone through hard times and through trauma, and that you've come out the other side, so that they can learn those lessons themselves. And it just makes it, they are paying for speed. They are paying for that learning curve to shorten their time it would take them normally. That's what they pay you for. Otherwise, they could also spend 10 years, a decade, plus millions of dollars to try and do all these things. They pay you to short circuit that. It's the impact that you're going to give them. So the next thing is to put a trajectory on your story, to have it that there is a direction that it goes in, and give it a clear theme and message, so that you're trying to give a moral at the end of that story as well, to understand what the purpose was behind that whole story, so it gives more meaning. Lastly, we just want to talk about and say that your structure is very, very important, because it will have a beginning, middle, and end, and your story will do a similar thing. And it's that story that is going to be a starting point. You're going to be needing it because you're going to use it a lot. When you create your assets, your story is going to be continually used. This, what we call the epiphany or hero story, you're going to be using it, and you may think that people have heard your story, and why would you say it again? But the world is a big place. Or when I say that, it's actually shrunk through digital. And there are another 3 billion people coming online. So believe me, you'll never tell enough people your story. So we're going to end up with, by 2023, thereabouts, with about 8 billion people online. Everybody's going to be connected before 2025 anyway. So that's a whole new market opening up. And it's important that you keep your story, keep telling your story. And with that, as usual, if you can like, subscribe, follow us. Remember, you can go to Info Products Facebook page. There's a link there where you can go and get a free video with more specifics, on more detail, with a deeper dive into the training of how to get things going, the actual platforms and technologies and things that you can use. And as usual, we will see you in the next episode.